They ignore you, not because you are weak, but because you are predictable. You speak, and they stop listening. You give, and they start expecting. You forgive, and they begin planning their next offense. In this world, kindness without structure is treated like a resource, something to be consumed, not something to be respected. The truth is hard. They do not hate you. They do not even think of you. You are convenient. You are background. You are silent when you should have disappeared. Let that sink in. The game is not fair. It never was. But there are rules, and the first rule is this. If you do not control your presence, others will control your value. You were trained to be seen as safe, as available, as emotionally obvious. You speak too soon. You answer too quickly. You react. That is how they size you. Not with logic, but by watching where your emotions bleed out, by observing who you try to convince, who you try to comfort, and who you try to win. Each time you explain yourself, they grow stronger. Each time you overstay, they lower your rank. There is no respect for someone who is always near, always ready, always open. Understand this. You do not have to be cruel to be powerful, but you must be unreadable. Power begins with removing your emotional footprint. Silence is not just the absence of words. It is the refusal to reveal your position. Let them wonder where you stand. Let them question what you know. Let them feel the distance. Never give your pattern. Once they see it, they will game it. Those who play emotionally are manipulated emotionally. That is why they provoke you. Not to understand you, but to map your responses. And when they have that map, you are no longer a person. You are a button, a tool, a predictable reaction. Do not give them the map. Do not react when tested. Observe when someone disrespects you. Speak once. If it happens again, say nothing. Leave. That is your standard. Respect is not requested. It is established through consequence. You are not here to fix anyone. You are not here to explain why you deserve better. You are here to create your own system of gravity. Those who align with it will orbit. Those who do not will drift. Power is not noise. It is control of proximity. You do not chase. You do not correct. You vanish, and you let the silence make your point. Emotional self-control is your armor. It is not numbness. It is strategy. People believe that coldness is cruelty. That is because they are used to power dressed as force. But real power is quiet, subtle. It does not need to shout because it knows its impact. You do not need to match their volume. You need only to hold your ground. Still, silent, watching. Those who live in chaos will panic in the presence of calm. That is your advantage. Your calm is not kindness. It is calculation. It is precision. You do not need to raise your voice. You do not need to explain your distance. Those who understand will adjust. Those who do not will reveal themselves. And when they do not correct them. Do not plead. Let them misunderstand you. The more they guess, the more you control the board. This is your edge. They are playing emotionally. You are not. They need to feel seen. You do not. They need to be liked. You do not. They need the last word. You do not. You need only your boundary and your silence to defend it. Build your personal power system on this foundation. Predict nothing. Explain nothing. Enforce everything through presence and withdrawal. They will mock it. They will test it. Let them. The moment they cannot read you, you win. They will accuse you of being distant. They will say you have changed. They will say you are cold. Let them. They are not upset because you harmed them. They are upset because you stopped giving them access. You stopped being easy to reach, easy to read, easy to use. This is the price of transformation. Those who benefited from your emotional openness will protest when you close the gates. Expect it. Do not answer it. They are not grieving your absence. They are grieving the loss of control they once had over your emotions. In their world, your worth was measured by how much you gave without being asked, how much you tolerated without pulling away, how much you allowed without setting cost. They do not miss you. They miss the version of you that lacked boundaries. You have outgrown that version, and that is a threat. To those who rely on access, your silence is violence. Your standards are betrayal. Your presence, once taken for granted, becomes rare. They panic. They gossip. They attempt to pull you back through guilt or confusion. Do not return. They will tempt you with apologies, with nostalgia, with half-truths and borrowed sincerity. Let it all pass through you like wind through stone. This is where your power system is tested, when sentiment tries to override principle. You must remember, affection without respect is just manipulation in costume. Do not mistake attention for change. Do not confuse words for proof. You do not accept emotion as evidence. You wait for action. You measure behavior, and you decide from a distance. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. You are no longer auditioning for approval. You are no longer performing worth. You are building a system where value is not negotiated, it is observed. People who want access must earn it through conduct. Not charm, not urgency, not apologies delivered too late. They may call you heartless, they may call you arrogant. Let them speak. Every time they speak about your silence, you are reminded who depended on your confusion. There is a type of peace that only arrives when you no longer need to be understood, when your decisions are not explained, when your withdrawal is not justified, when you simply vanish from what drains you. That is the beginning of sovereignty. No one trains others how to treat them through words. They train them through enforcement, and enforcement does not require confrontation. It requires consistency. You do not yell when disrespected. You exit. You do not remind them what they did wrong. You let the consequences become their teacher. This is how you rewire the dynamic. They begin to realize something has changed. Not because you said it, but because your silence no longer feels temporary. Because your energy is no longer negotiable. Because your tolerance has expired, and no discussion followed. That is how power enters the room. Power is not about dominating others. It is about removing your dependence on their validation. The less you need from them, the more they will need to adjust. You do not build your value through interaction. You build it through selective exposure, controlled presence, emotional discipline. Your words now carry weight because they are rare. Your time is respected because it is earned. Your image is sharpened because it is not constantly seen. They will wonder if you are angry. You are not. They will wonder if you still care. That is no longer their question to ask. You do not answer questions born from entitlement. You only respond to consistency born from respect. This is your pivot, from being the one who reacts to being the one they must consider, because now your time has cost, your presence has terms, and your boundaries are no longer soft suggestions, they are structure. If someone cannot meet your standard, you do not adjust the standard. You adjust their access. The game was never about being liked. It was about being respected in your absence and understood through your silence. Keep building your system. Understand this truth. Loyalty is not found. It is tested. Anyone can praise you when they are gaining. Anyone can stay when it is easy. What reveals character is how they act when your silence arrives, when you are no longer giving, when they must meet your standard or lose access. You will begin to see the difference between alliance and attachment. An alliance respects structure. It adapts. It honors what you do not say. But attachment resents boundaries. It accuses. It demands clarity where you offer distance. It pushes where you offer pause. You must never explain your limits to someone who benefits from your lack of them. Instead, you create conditions, not conversations. Your presence is not a gift. It is an earned environment. It is not emotional currency to be handed out freely. It is a strategic asset. You place it where it builds leverage, not where it leaks energy. Watch how quickly they shift when access is denied. The ones who were loudest become quiet. The ones who needed you most grow bitter. They will say you are difficult. They will say you are too proud. They will say you think you are better. But you are not here to fix perception. You are here to create a field where only those who move with precision may enter. This is not ego, it is architecture. Weak systems collapse under pressure. Strong systems exclude chaos by design. If your personal system allows everyone in, you have no system, you have exposure. And exposure is the death of power. People should not know where you stand unless it serves you. They should not know what you feel unless it weakens them. They should not know your plans unless it binds them to your terms. This is not secrecy, it is control. Your detachment is not the absence of feeling. It is the control of its display. Reveal nothing to those who collect your emotions for later use. You are not a vault they get to open with pity or urgency. You are a wall, smooth, silent, impenetrable. And that wall speaks louder than any outburst ever could. When they ask what happened, say nothing. When they say they miss you, say nothing. When they ask if you are angry, say nothing. Let them feel the vacuum of your energy. Let them guess. Let them replay every moment in silence and wonder where they lost access. This is how you shift the frame. You are no longer waiting for respect. You are teaching it through consequence. You are no longer hoping to be understood. You are demanding to be measured. You are no longer trying to maintain connection. You are curating alignment. Because the truth is simple. You cannot build power and remain emotionally available to chaos. You must withdraw to design. You must disappear to reset. You must reduce access to increase value. This is what separates the strategist from the subject. The strategist moves in shadows. The subject moves in noise. The strategist does not explain. The subject defends, begs, performs. Choose. You cannot play both roles. And once you choose strategy, everything becomes signal. Who calls when they get no response? Who adapts when they lose your comfort? Who shows respect when they feel none of your urgency? These are your answers. Not their words, not their apologies, not their tears. Only behavior under restriction reveals truth. Your power system is now taking shape. It is not built on control of others. It is built on mastery of self, discipline of presence, conservation of energy. You will be misunderstood. You will be called cold. You will lose those who were only drawn to your openness. Let them go. Your new system does not run on emotional performance. It runs on psychological precision. You are no longer seeking a place. You are becoming the place. Now you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are selecting. This is the shift they never see coming. They spent years conditioning you to serve, to soothe, to stay available, not because they valued you, but because they could predict you. Predictability is the enemy of power. When you are predictable, they stop treating you as a person. They treat you as a function. A function has no value. It is replaced the moment it fails to perform. You become disposable not because you are weak, but because you are consistent in the wrong places. Consistent in tolerance, consistent in self-betrayal, consistent in over-explaining. The more you show up without requirement, the less they see you. This is why you disappear. Not out of spite, but to reset the system. You train them through absence, not through speeches. You must teach the lesson that your presence is not endless, that it cannot be summoned at will, that access, once lost, is not easily restored. This is where most fail. They return too quickly. They are baited back with false guilt, with brief affection, with panic from the one who used to ignore them. But what they do not see is that panic is not change. It is exposure. It is the fear of losing control. Let them feel it. You do not reassure anyone who only values you when you are gone. Your reassurance is not a gift to be given cheaply. It is a strategy to be withheld. You do not rebuild bridges you did not burn. You do not explain your silence to the one who ignored your voice. They will tell others you vanished. Let them. Your reputation in their circle is no longer your concern. You are not building power to be liked in weak rooms. You are building power to never depend on them again. This is the phase where you become untouchable. Not because you shout, not because you threaten, but because they realize they can no longer move you. They can no longer provoke you. They can no longer predict what you will tolerate. Your indifference is now a weapon, not because it harms, but because it disables their usual tools. They cannot beg. You are silent. They cannot manipulate. You are distant. They cannot provoke. You are still. That is the power they fear most, the one that offers no access point. You do not shout for change. You become the change, and you vanish from what refuses to match it. And slowly, they learn. That behavior has cost. That time with you is earned. That presence is not permanent. That apologies are not currency, they are only receipts. Because you no longer trade in emotion, you trade in observation. You measure what is consistent, not what is dramatic. You measure where loyalty shows up, not where words are spoken. This is your system now. Emotion is private. Standards are quiet. Boundaries are enforced. Presence is rationed. You are not mysterious. You are structured. But to those who knew the unguarded version of you, structure feels like mystery. They are not used to earning what you once gave freely. Let them struggle. They must meet your standard or lose their seat. This is how you create gravity. Not through effort, not through pleading, but through consistency and silence. They will feel the difference between access and privilege, between apology and adjustment, between attraction and alignment. Most will fail that test. They are not ready for the version of you that does not flinch. They are not prepared for the one who can walk away without speaking. They are afraid of the version of you who no longer needs to be seen, heard, or chosen. Because now you choose. You no longer explain why you deserve better. You simply accept nothing less. And that is how your personal power system begins to rule. You will notice something rare begins to happen. The same people who once dismissed you will start watching you, not with affection, with calculation, because silence forces them to reflect, and distance forces them to wonder. They may never admit it, but your absence creates discomfort, not because they lost you, but because they lost their influence. They used to know how to reach you. Now they do not even know how to read you. This is the edge you needed. Not revenge. Not reaction. Uncertainty. They cannot attack what they cannot name. They cannot disarm what shows no weapon. They cannot control what no longer responds. You are becoming untouchable not through force, but through opacity. They called you soft when you gave, naive when you stayed, overreactive when you finally walked. Let them talk. Their words are noise. Yours is silence, and it carries more weight. Because now, you act through absence. You move through presence. You speak through patterns they must interpret. They will offer temptations, quick praise, sudden concern, recycled sentiment. Stay neutral. Neutrality is your fortress. It denies them emotional terrain. You do not need closure from those who only open doors when it serves them. You do not need clarity from those who hid their truth when they had your loyalty. You need only this: discipline. Do not return to what you had to recover from. The mind tries to bargain, the heart tries to excuse, but the strategist knows when someone shows you who they are, your responsibility is not to change them. Your responsibility is to respond once, then restructure everything. There is no growth in repeated forgiveness. There is no power in circles. Closure is not a gift they give. It is a decision you enforce. Let them misunderstand. Let them grieve their illusion of access. You are not angry. You are unavailable. That is not revenge. That is reformation. You are building something now. Your system is no longer reactive. It is proactive. You enter rooms with awareness. You leave them without announcement. You offer no warning, no emotional trail. You are not a fire to be managed. You are a mirror. You reflect behavior. And then you vanish. That is the lesson. You cannot teach through talking. You teach through vanishing, through rebuilding, through the enforcement of silence. Each time you walk away, the message is received, whether they admit it or not. You do not control what they think. You control what they experience. And what they experience now is absence with no access, presence with no softness, response with no emotion. You are no longer the version of yourself that tolerated confusion as connection, that confused proximity for loyalty, that translated neglect into complexity. You see it clearly now. Respect is behavior, not sentiment. Loyalty is proven, not promised. And boundaries are final, not flexible. This is the truth you live now, not just in conflict, but in peace. Your peace is not passive. It is guarded. It has gates. It has rules. Not everyone enters. Not everyone returns. That is not cruelty. That is criteria. People will change their tone when they realize silence is permanent, when they realize your energy is no longer free, when they recognize the cost of their own patterns. They will adapt or they will vanish. Let either happen. You are not responsible for who stays. You are only responsible for enforcing what stays true. You no longer need to raise your voice. You no longer need to correct them. You no longer need to repeat yourself. Now they learn from absence. They learn from distance. They learn from the mirror you became. And that mirror does not speak. It reflects. That is how you lead. Now, not by convincing, by becoming the example they cannot reach unless they rise to meet it. Now you are no longer part of the noise. You are not drawn into battles. You are not baited by chaos. You do not justify, argue, or defend. You have exited the emotional marketplace. There is nothing left to trade. That is when your power begins to mature. When you no longer seek the win, you seek control. Not of others, but of the frame, of the rhythm, of your own response. The most dangerous person in any room is the one who does not need anything from it. You are becoming that person. They cannot offer what you already hold. They cannot threaten what you no longer fear. They cannot guilt you for a role you never agreed to play. That is your liberation, the refusal to be governed by emotional expectation. Most people live in reaction. They wait for validation. They wait for apology. They wait for fairness. You wait for nothing, because you understand. Waiting is submission in disguise. If you must wait for someone to act right, then you have already given them power. You do not wait. You decide. You no longer need to prove that you are loyal, that you are kind, that you are worthy. All proof is in your absence. If they saw your worth, they would have protected your access. If they valued your presence, they would have earned its continuation. If they truly respected you, you would never have needed to speak twice. So now you do not. You do not teach adults how to treat you. You show them once, and then you leave the room. You have no interest in repairing what someone was willing to damage. This is the code of your system. No begging, no reminding, no emotional labor. You do not reward delay. You do not explain the obvious. You do not argue your standards. Because now, your standard is not a request. It is a threshold. Those who do not meet it fall away, without resistance, without noise, without ritual. They fall not because you pushed, but because you stopped holding them up. That is power. Power is not control of others. Power is control of what you tolerate. This is why your system cannot be emotional. Emotion reacts, power observes. You do not explode. You expire. You do not lash out. You recalculate. You do not lecture. You restrict. You do not mourn those who collapse under the weight of your boundaries. You recognize that they were only there for what was easy, for what was free, for what cost you everything and them nothing. And now it costs something. Now your energy has a gate. Now your attention has a lock. Now your forgiveness is rare, and your presence is rarer still, because you finally learned what no one told you. Power does not beg to be respected. Power leaves the room until it is. That is the architecture of your personal power system. It is not born from force. It is not born from cruelty. It is born from the refusal to be emotionally predictable. You are calm now, but not passive. You are composed, but not tolerant. You are silent, but not available. And that distinction changes everything. Now you move like a ruler, not a responder. You speak only when necessary. You show only what is earned. You detach, not to hurt them, but to protect the code that rebuilt you. That code is unshakable now. It does not bend to guilt. It does not pause for sentiment. It does not soften to be liked. You are no longer the version of yourself who feared loss. You are the version who calculates value and walks away without noise. Now you understand the rarest truth of all. The more you feel the need to prove yourself, the more you bleed control. The desperate need to be understood is a weakness. The need to explain your every move, to justify your silence, to defend your distance, it turns your power into performance. You are not a performer anymore. You are a strategist. And a strategist never reveals the full plan, never plays the whole hand, never speaks more than necessary. Because power is never loud, it does not announce itself. It arrives quietly with presence, with clarity, with an unshakable refusal to lower its standard. The reason they underestimated you before was not because you were incapable, but because you were readable. They saw every reaction. They heard every protest. They knew exactly how to trigger you and when. But now, they see nothing. Your face is still. Your words are rare. Your steps are deliberate. They feel the difference, but they do not understand it. Let them sit in confusion. This is not cruelty. This is design. You are not here to fix their feelings. You are not here to heal the dynamic. You are here to maintain alignment with your system, and that means emotional distance from emotional manipulation. Because here is what they never expected: that you would stop playing, that you would stop defending your worth, that you would stop giving free access, that you would stop handing over your peace just to avoid being misunderstood. You are not who you were. That person is gone, the one who explained everything, who tolerated disrespect, who stayed too long just to keep the illusion of connection alive. Now, your silence says what words never could. You are done, not temporarily, not dramatically. You are done for good. This kind of exit changes everything. It forces a reckoning. They replay your quiet. They rehearse what they should have said. They project intentions onto you because they no longer know your mind. That uncertainty is your shield. You must never let them read you again. Never speak twice where once was enough. Never re-enter where you were already dismissed. Never soften in the face of sudden concern. Because most concern is not born from care. It is born from fear. Fear that they can no longer reach you, no longer use you, no longer keep you emotionally involved. When they say, "I did not expect you to cut me off," hear what they are really saying: "I thought you needed me too much to leave." You do not. You never did. You just forgot your value in the noise of seeking approval. Now the noise is gone. Now you remember. And that memory is what builds your system into something permanent, not just a reaction, not just a phase, but a way of life. You do not respond to chaos. You remove it. You do not argue with liars. You erase them. You do not educate adults on how to behave. You let their behavior define their place in your life. Your peace is not up for debate. It is not a product of their apology. It is the byproduct of your structure, and your structure is built on this. If they must be reminded to treat you well, then they do not belong. There are no second conversations, only first impressions, only patterns, only data. You are no longer caught in emotional gravity. You are above it, orbiting your own system, clean, cold, complete. They can no longer reach you because you are not staying where you are merely tolerated. You are building where you are deeply respected. Your presence is no longer a negotiation, it is a signal. Those who rise to meet it, stay. Those who do not, vanish. You do not chase. You do not convince. You do not revisit. You evolve. You are no longer emotionally available to chaos. You no longer confuse noise with care, attention with commitment, familiarity with alignment. You are done trying to be understood by those committed to misunderstanding you. You are done pleading for basic respect. You are done lowering your standard to preserve peace in broken rooms. This is your final shift, from emotional engagement to strategic withdrawal. You do not need closure. You do not need agreement. You do not need to be liked. You need only one thing: control of your own terms. And that begins with exit. Leave the places that shrink you. Leave the patterns that drain you. Leave the people who only show up when you are silent, not when you are speaking. They were never confused. They just believed you would never leave. Now they know, and you do not owe them clarity. You do not owe them your softness. You owe yourself peace, not the peace that comes from being accepted, but the peace that comes from no longer needing to be. Power is not what they gave you. Power is what you reclaimed when you stopped explaining. Now you speak in presence. Now you move in precision. Now you choose from distance. The system is complete. You are not here to play fair. You are here to play smart. Do not chase. Do not argue. Do not explain. Withdraw. That is how they learn. That is how you win. Because in the end, power belongs to the one who needs less. And now that is you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it.